The real estate industry has always been very effective at dealing with people who are ready to buy and sell real estate. However, they have not done a very good job reaching back and meeting the consumer where they are. There is a massive amounts of people being left behind by this real estate market. More people are being left behind by this market than ever before.
As time goes on, home ownership is only going to get harder to achieve. When you ask me, like, what are the biggest obstacles that I'm coming across in people, it's having money and credit. It's the modern day version of men not asking for directions. Welcome back to another episode.
All right, so this is going to be one that Jen really is going to take the lead with because this is near and dear to her heart. Apparently, she is the first person to come up with this idea. At least that's how she framed this whole thing before we hit record.
Liar.
She's taking credit for this entire idea. No one in the
He's
real
a
estate,
liar.
no one in the real
This is
estate
how
industry,
rumors get started.
or anyone who's a co-host, any of her co-hosts have ever thought of this before in their entire.
Said that
You came up with this idea a year.
My reasoning for wanting to do this podcast in the first place. No, the audience that I wanted to target. So when we first started talking about making this podcast, before it was ever named, I had Millennia up with a friend of ours for a blog, but then I wanted to make it into a podcast. We went over that in our little origin story. But when we were talking about how to market it and who we wanted to reach with this podcast, we're talking it is a real estate podcast. I said, but I don't want it to just be put out when there's any kind of SEO or algorithm grabs. I didn't necessarily want it to only be targeted towards the people who were actively looking to buy a home or sell a home right now, but I wanted it to go out to millennials who weren't necessarily thinking of purchasing a home because they haven't been given the opportunity to even be able to consider it because of the things that are either working against them or the problems that they have or whatever, to at least lead them to start thinking about, give them the opportunity to be able to start thinking about becoming a homeowner or seller. So what we're talking about today is this gap of there's a range of people who are ready to go, ready to sell, ready to buy, who are ready and ready to just talk to a lender and just get going. But then there is this whole backlog of people who want to be there, but logistically are not yet. And what to do with those people, because a lot of times those people are forgotten. And in 2019, when I made my personal decision that I was going to get into real estate, it was very on the foundation of I want to bring education to it and actually make it to where people who thought that they couldn't can. So that's what we're focusing on with this episode specifically, and going to dive into a little, how we want to start bringing that part into this real estate market is the people that are currently being left behind or ignored or just, not in the space.
I'm just here. This is your idea.
Oh,
this is
BS. This is no BS.
I have
Real
nothing,
estate solutions for millennials.
I have nothing to say on this matter.
Where is your notebook when I need it? Last, 2 weeks ago, Seth breaks out this whole, imagine the meme of the It's Always Sunny with the strings everywhere.
Dude, I'm from California. Your notebook now. I got 17 pages of more of that shit.
And the whole thing he showed was literally this exact thing. And he expected me to be like, I said, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a more organized way, but saying exactly, yes, that is exactly what needs to happen.
The formulation of an idea has to go from here to paper.
Well, you put it on paper and I've had it up here. So here we are. That's why we make a great team.
We'll just admit this is your idea. You're the first person in the country to think about reaching back to people and meet them where they are.
Wow. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I'm
You're a
revolutionist.
trailblazer, pioneer.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll come up with another word for it.
Yes.
May I weigh in on your idea?
I will bestow that honor upon you.
Okay, great. Basically, the real estate industry has always been very effective at dealing with people who are ready to buy and sell real estate. However, they have not done a very good job. And I do not know why capitalism has not created this, but we have, which is the first time with Jen's steady hand of guidance, is
you're all so lucky.
Reaching back and meeting the consumer where they are. And the pandemic escalated price. We've talked about that a ton, has escalated prices and with interest rates and everything like that. There's more consumer debt. And really what has happened is I feel like the housing industry has largely left a lot of consumers who would otherwise in a normal market be ready to buy. There is a massive amounts of people being left behind by this real estate market. One of our goals for 2024 is to reach back and show these people how to come up into the fray. So what does that mean? What kind of services are we talking about? What are
Well-
the what are the pain points that people are experiencing who are being left behind?
Well, yeah, that's really it. There's the observing the obstacles and the pushbacks of like why people can't,
Mhm.
especially with millennials. Hello, us. It's the student loan, debts on debts, credit being bad, not having money, which like goes into debt. Honestly, those are the two like really big ones.
Mhm.
We had a lot that came up there, but when you ask me like what are the biggest obstacles that I'm coming across in people, it's credit. Oh, income. That's another one. But yeah, like having money and credit.
So I would argue in a broader sense that the American dream of homeownership is less of a foregone conclusion for people. You need more of a plan. You have to strategize earlier than you would. You can't just wake up on a February morning and be like, you know what, honey, I think it's time. I think we bite the bullet this year and we buy a house. Like that, if you can do that's great.
Give us a call.
Yeah, give us a call. But in the end, that's not really how it works. And people romanticize about how things were in the 90s and the 2000s and the 80s and everything. But people have always had to save to buy a house. The idea that like of not being ready is something new. I would argue that more people are being left behind by this market than ever before. But people have always had to like watch their credit and watch their debts and make decisions to save money in order to buy homes. I think there's an enormous amount of, and if I can just talk about the economy and just the society
It wouldn't be an episode without
it wouldn't be an episode without it, but there are enormous amounts of pressures on young people these days. You have to think about someone growing up in 1985 versus 2025. It's like the difference in the environment and the commercial pressures of people to buy things and to go on trips and coffee shops and going out to eat and vacations and this, that, and things are based on wages more expensive than they ever been. They have
shopping specifically.
Yeah, grocery
God
shopping, price of
almighty.
food, price of
I don't even go on my meat trips and I'm like, sheesh.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of pressures. But even with all those pressures, it does not excuse the idea of, you got to save. You got to have a strategy. And what we want to focus on this episode is really just talking about the certain things that you can do. And we're not going to tell you not to buy avocado toast.
Thank God. I literally took
It
it right
there
out of
is
my head.
literally no one under the age of 45 has written the words avocado toast, because everybody who writes that article is like some kind of boomer or Gen X journalist.
It was a thing for like when avocado toast started becoming this like trendy thing, and it was like $8 for a piece of toast.
It's like,
That's when the
here's an
internet went
idea.
wild with
Instead
it.
of buying your avocado toast, why don't you save and buy,
Or if they really wanted to take that angle, they should really start harping down on the Starbucks like $18 drinks than the avocado toast. At least the avocado toast is good for you.
in a broader argument, what some of those articles are saying, and don't shoot the messenger, they're saying that you should cut down on the discretionary shit.
Well,
And that's
that all
really
goes
what
to
it comes to.
budgeting. So part of this whole preparing that section of people, which is honestly the majority, the minority are the people who are waking up and who are like coming to us saying, I'm now currently ready and prepared. So we're talking about the masses here that fall under this, and it's about budgeting. And it might not be that you can't go treat yourself to Starbucks on a Tuesday afternoon, but being able to have somebody who is budgeting your finances and can tell you, here is what you do have to spend as a little treat for yourself. This is your little treat you money.
Mm-hmm.
And just being like more mindful of that, whereas I think there's a lot of that lacking right now. And
So did you know that I reached out to 3 financial planners and not one person would help?
I
They
was
just
one of
don't do it. They just don't do it.
which blows my mind.
No, you know why? There's no money in it. And the same reason the real estate hasn't created a solution for this. There's no money in it. It's too far back, because real estate and financial planning have always had plenty of consumers to consume. Capitalism has never created enough of a pain point in those two industries for people to develop a system to come back. Now you have silos. You've got your real estate business and you've got your financial planning business. And then
Thought
you've
you
got
meant
your
physical
budgeters.
silos. I was like, so when we start talking about farms.
But you have your budgeters, you have your credit repair people, you've got like the Dave Ramsey's, like the saving financial peace type thing. But there's never been like a marriage between those 3 entities, which is like budgeting and savings, real estate purchase, and then long-term financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
And so my goal in 2024 with your steady hand of guidance, this idea of creating an entire ecosystem, whether you need to save to buy your first house, But I was talking to you about this, and I think you think a lot in terms of like first-time home buyers. There's a lot of people who need this help who already own homes and are having financial pressure because they've got kids now. They're not worried about avocado toast. They're worried about getting enough toast in the toaster before the kids get on the bus. And that is another area where I think a lot of people are like, they're very against talking to somebody, especially as they get older. And I feel that and this is totally anecdotal, but I feel like people get very nervous about talking when they're 30, 35, 40, because they're supposed to be, society tells them they're supposed to be at a certain spot. They're supposed to have a certain amount of savings.
Guess what? We're not there.
No.
And I'll be the first to say it.
No, but I'm just like people who are 40 and have 2 kids and they want to upsize and they've
It's
got
getting
30.
even hard to upsize because it's become like what you purchased your house for like before and what you're currently making. To be able to upsize financially, like what it would cost to upsize ends up being like a lateral move of what your current house is worth and what you can financially, not to everybody, but.
Well, it isn't a lateral move because the house that you're getting is going to solve some other problems for you. Yeah. You know, like the difference between like living in a condo and having to put your dog on a leash every day versus being able to open up the slider and letting that dog run is like people will pay for that. Not hearing your kids argue over the bathroom in the morning is worth it. But if it is a lateral move, you take all your equity from one house, you move it to the other, and you apply that gain in the first house to keep your payment where it is. And yeah, you're not going to have your 3% payment anymore. I'm very sorry, everyone. That's just not going to happen. But in the end, it is possible. But before we can even have that conversation, there are a lot of people who own homes who are like, I don't even know where to start. I got to save for college. I got to save for retirement. I've got to ask for that raise. I've got 2 kids. I've got daycare. I've got housing costs. I've got this and that. And they're like,
it is so easy to just say, okay, then I'm just not
going to deal with it. And there is an enormous, and I'm talking to you, the guys out there, that the psychological barrier of asking for help when it comes to finances is very apparent.
Quit out the window.
I talk to so many moms who are like, yeah, my husband. And because men feel that they fail.
It's the modern day version of men not asking for directions.
Yeah. It's that same thing. I can guide my family with Jen's steady hand. Guide my family to the.
Okay, now what if we can get you there faster?
We can get you there faster, but
what if we can do it without getting yelled at? What if you could do it without hearing somebody nagging in your ear all the time? What if you can do it and make your life so much easier and take a few more stressors off your plate instead of feeling like you have to carry it all on your own? But it can still be perceived that you are, but you actually have some silent.
Let me take it one step further. And this is a podcast about millennials. Downsizers. They've just gotten through paying all this money for college, if they're lucky.
Hopefully.
You haven't paid all this money for college. They don't have
the millennial dream is paying off your student loans.
But they're not, if they haven't paid for all this college for their kids, they're not in a financial position anyway. So they've got other bills. I talk to financial planners and they're like, you'd be amazed at how many 55 and 60-year-olds walk in and be like, we're thinking about retiring in the next 10 years. So we figured we'd sit down and talk to somebody. It's, but you are 25, 30 years late. You should be saving. People should be trying to save anything, even if they live in an apartment. Put aside $50 a month. Like, just try to do something. But there are so many people who live paycheck to paycheck their entire working lives, and then they turn around and they have absolutely no idea how to put their. It's true. Last days of their lives. And so we have our push this year, among many other pushes, is to create the bridge. And so this year we're going to be partnering with a lot of budgeting people, credit people. Before we hit record, we talked about putting on seminars, webinars. Jen is resistant to the webinar.
I do not say I'm resistant to it. I think it can be an addition to. Call me old fashioned, but I like to meet people in person.
But I also know that people are busy and not everyone's going to be able to go and do a seminar, especially who are young and might have kids and all that. But anyway.
I have ADD. I focus better if somebody is sitting in front of me.
And it's all about Jen. And this is Jen's vision.
I just know that I'm also
everyone out there is going to just have to fall in line with what Jen's got cooking for it.
Let us know. If somebody is preparing some sort of like educational seminar, but like interactive, do you prefer it over Zoom as a webinar, or do you prefer to go meet in person, sit down, and hear what has to be said?
Sounds like a poll. I think we're
going to be a poll.
I think we're going to put a poll out.
Yep. Because I want to know. I'm really curious because I feel passionately about one way. You feel passionately about the other because there is the ease of convenience and accessibility.
Yeah.
to the latter?
Yeah.
Or is it both?
It's all Jen's idea, so it's all going to be just whatever Jen wants anyway. So it doesn't matter. But just vote on it. Just
You're giving me a lot of credit for coming up with all of these ideas all by myself out of thin air.
And it's recorded. So
Seth said it, so it must be true.
Yeah, it must be true. No, but I wanted to just implore everybody, though. We want to create a safe space for people to have that conversation. We have confidentiality with you anyway. And we work with people who are 2-3 years away from buying. And I want to reemphasize this. If you own a home, we are talking to you as well. We are not just talking to the 27-year-old first-time home buyer who's slaving away and paying off college student loans, who has no money and is, yeah, Seth, like, whatever, I'm never going to buy a house.
But we are talking to you too.
We are talking to you too. And apathy is not exclusive to that group. It is spread across all buying consumer classes. And we want to talk to everybody and make sure that they understand that our team and our approach is more holistic and more consultative than just, hey, when are you ready to buy and sell your house? Because that is traditionally where the real estate business has been, again, because there's always been business for people. And we're very lucky because we have enough business already, but our mission and our philosophy with this team is to build a bridge to not leave anyone behind and meet the consumer where they are, give them the services that they need in order to bring them up so they can realize the American dream. And honestly, if you want to use those services and not use us, which would be nuts, right? That would be crazy to go through our entire system and then not use us, right? That's our goal, is to build that bridge. And I think that we wanted to get on here and really talk about why this is an important thing for us. It's great when you get that call and it's the guy's like, okay, yeah, I got plenty of money. Let's just go buy a house. It's great,
love that. We're not turning that one at all.
But we're not going to turn that one down at all. But the person who really is like sitting there saying, I had no idea I could do this. And I did it. And I did it safely.
Homeownership is only going to, I'm sorry, and this might sound pessimistic. As time goes on, home ownership is only going to get harder to achieve. I was telling somebody recently, I said, honestly, what people are like, I'm going to wait for the right time. For the love of God, don't do it, because like nobody can ever determine what the future is going to be. Like, I bought my house 7 years ago. I bought it then just on a whim. I was the person who just woke up and just did it. I had no business doing that, but I did. It was fine. But I would have never been able to see in a crystal ball that 4 years down the road, that idea would not have been feasible for me anymore. If I were to do that right now, and then I was in the place that I was in before, wouldn't be able to do it now. And you have no idea like what is going to happen 4 years from now, and just like waiting for the right time. And the way things are going, at least in this market, it really is just going to get harder to be able to achieve. The more prepared that you can get in starting early, the better. And you'll find that the earlier you get on board for this, you'll find that you are more ready than you think you are currently.
I'm going to take it one step further.
Oh, do it.
What if you don't buy a house ever, but the whole experience makes you more financially sound?
Wow, crazy.
And it's like you get all your debt taken care of and your credits restored. So then if you decide, hey, you know what? I don't ever want to own a home anyway. I want to be nomadic and I want to have my credit and rent a place. But all I know is that the way that a lot of Americans are going right now, it's not going to just fix itself. No politician is coming to save you. No economy or company or any entity out there is coming to save you. The only people that are going to succeed are the ones who take their life in their hands and fix what is wrong within the confines of what they're capable of doing. We totally understand that there's always going to be 35% of the American public who will be renters. Total, and that's always been the highest home ownership rates have ever been in this country is 68%. We are not there. I think we're at like 62%, 63%. But people are like, oh yeah, most Americans own. Yeah, they do, but it's never been much over 2/3. So there's always going to be people who are never going to be able to rent or to buy, or they just never get into the idea of buying a house. But this could help them too if it just fixes their financial situation so they can
find the downside.
Our call to action is, yes, we're going to put a poll out.
In-person seminars or webinars.
And also, if you are way off from buying a house, but you want to find out what is possible and what the very first step is to do, we will have that conversation with you. We don't care about having conversations with people who aren't going to be transacting in real estate for many years. I have worked, I think my record is 4 years.
Check the episode before this one from last week. It just talks everything about a buyer consultation. Doesn't even have to be anything relative of buying right now. and it could be years out. And
Yeah.
it's just to be able to have open conversations.
Yeah. And in fact, I don't think we really mentioned on that episode, and I want to mention, I think we kind of alluded to it, but a buyer consultation is not for people who are like ready to buy right now. I mean, I'd say over half of mine are like, hey, we're thinking about buying.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know when, but we want to see where we are. And then the lender, as we all give them what I call marching orders.
Yep.
And if we want to take that to the extreme and someone's 3 years out, but they want to start making that march towards home ownership, or at least towards financial, as Dave Ramsey calls, financial peace.
Yeah. And we won't be the only ones that you talk to, or the agents won't be the only ones you talk to. It's going to be the lenders, because they really are going to be the ones to tell you who you need to talk to, what you need to do, because they see all of your qualifying factors there. And they're going to be the ones like, do you need to talk to a budgeter? Do you need to get your credit up and talk to this credit improvement person? Or they're the ones that give marching orders even now, not just at the very end of things.
Yeah.
And it can be really intimidating too.
It can. Like, I'm working with a guy, a young couple. They just had a baby. They have another baby on the way, and he's been working with me for 6 months. And he's been talking about repairing his credit, pulling certain levers, doing this, that, and the other. And by June, he is going to be totally optimized and ready to buy. And I told him, I was like, I wish I could take you and put you on a stage. Maybe we should interview him, actually, because he's got the absolute right mindset. He's a young guy. He's like 28. He's got a young family, and he is just, tell me what to do, and I will do it.
I have a client like that right now too. And I'm like, can I just multiply you?
Yeah, give me a hair follicle, I'll clone you. That's exactly what we want, because those are the people who win.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people who win. The people who think they can do it on their own. Some people can, but most people who think they can do it on their own, they muddle through. I'm talking to you guys, are the ones who end up waiting multiple years, wasting money, thinking you can fix all this on your own. And there's people out there who can. I just want to thank Jen for bringing this idea to the entire real estate world.
Yep. You're all so welcome. What would the world do without me?
Right.
Okay.
I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.